Hey, Zuleika. Hi, girl. Thanks for coming. Hi, everyone. My name's Corinne. Welcome to the Infinite Love Show, where I will be talking about things I love. And I'm waiting for my guest to come on. There she is. We're waiting for Sophia to get connected. Hey,
Hi.
girl. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here right
I
now.
know, this is fun. I mean, it's like perfect timing to talk about things.
Yes, always. Always divine. Always divine timing.
So, a little bit about me. My name's Corinne Camara, and I'm an intuitive acupuncturist and energy medicine practitioner. And I created this show to talk about things I love to do, which is helping people. And I love to talk to my friends that also love doing something similar. And Sophia's going to share who she is and how she brings love into her life and into the world.
Yay, everybody. My name is Dr. Sofia Costa. You want me to jump into the answering that question right now?
We can do your
Or give
intro. You can do whatever you want.
Okay. I'm originally from Puerto Rico. Moved to the States when I was about four, and both my parents are now retired medical physicians. So I had the opportunity to observe the gap within the conventional medicine world and see them struggle and feel frustrated that they couldn't spend more time with patients and them wishing they could do more and be more for them.
Hmm.
And then when I had my own injury at 16, and saw again like the gaps of like I was very observant growing up and I still am, and seeing like you know what, like this can be different. I want to be the change in this system in this healthcare world. The injury, I was being passed around different doctors. 6 months after being diagnosed, I had surgery on my leg. I
Hmm.
had heart issues a month later. I had back pain 2 months after surgery. And this back pain was the one that lasted the most, 15 years of my life. And so it was like this back pain was just letting me know, like, girl, we got to do something about this, and you need to be the change in the world. And let's help people feel better and not deal with this gap or not deal with not feeling seen and heard and supported while their body is hurting or dismissed or given a pill and quick fixes and band-aid solutions. Let's do something different. So I dedicated my entire life in wanting to learn anything and everything about the human body and create strategies that help bridge the gap with what people are missing. So
Hmm.
rather than just focusing on where the pain is, right? I come in, my back hurts. You only looked at where your pain is, right? And nowhere else. No one asks you, how are you sleeping? What are you stressed out about? Have you felt this pain before? How are you feeling? What are you afraid of? All these questions that can allow you to dive deeper into the truth as to why your body is hurting. So I'm beyond grateful that I finally cracked the code and created something that helps support people in a loving, nurturing way and allow them to feel seen and heard, but also empower them with tools to figure out the language of their body, build a deeper connection within themselves, and feel better in their mind and body than ever before. So I'm just grateful that my struggles and challenges allowed me to be who I am and being able to show up for people so they're no longer hurting anymore.
Yeah, I think that's, the biggest part about being a healer or working in this profession, right? It's like working on yourself and seeing what changes you can make and then how you can then help others. And it's so beautiful to be able to make the transition within our own body and then to watch it play out. And it makes it all worth it. Like that back pain that you went through when you were younger, it's all worth it because now you know, oh my God, that was such in the moment, it didn't feel good, but at the same time, it gave you such an amazing gift as you got older.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was like one struggle after the other. It was just the back pain was always there, but then like health issues and things like that. And it's like, why is this happening? You know, like there's got to be a reason. Like you
Hmm.
feel like you're doing everything right. I'm doing the exercises, stretches. I was a personal trainer at Equinox for several years, doctor of physical therapy. Gosh, like, and now like specializing in functional medicine, gut health, emotional healing, energy medicine, because I didn't want to be stuck in a box,
Right.
right? Like when you're a trainer, you're stuck in a box. When you have the title of a physical therapist, I'm placed in a box. And I'm like, how about no box? And let's start integrating things, because even working in a clinic for 3 years before I branched out solo, I saw the gaps within the profession of physical therapy too, and the way that it was being run. And, like, I don't think it's cool that I only get to see a patient for 15, 20, 30 minutes and then they're taken off to an aide and you don't even know if they're doing their movements correctly. There wasn't any continuum of care in between sessions. Insurance companies telling me where to treat and nowhere else, telling me how often to treat somebody. I was like, okay, the only way to create a change in this is to branch off solo. And
Hmm.
so in 2 weeks, I'm celebrating 4-year anniversary of being a solo
Congrats.
practitioner. So
Congrats.
I'm super excited
Yeah.
that I took that risk. I didn't allow my fears to hold me back so much. It was
Hmm.
like, no, girl, you're on a mission. This action is in sync with your mission. Jump. Figure
Yeah.
it out later.
I mean, it's all
Right?
about trust, like being a
Yes.
solo practitioner, being a woman of color, like just
Yep.
it's just always like, should I do this? Am I going to be supported? Like, when I became an acupuncturist, I was the only black girl in my school, black person in my acupuncture school.
Yeah.
And even now, as an acupuncturist, people are still like, "Oh my God, I never met a black one. Like, this is so amazing." And
Yes.
I'm like, there's a whole Facebook community called Black Acupuncturists where like a bunch of us from around the world, around the country are like, hey, what's up? Because
Ah!
there's not a lot of us, but we're there, we're there. And
Yes. Yes.
it's definitely one of these things where you have to pull on a lot of your internal strength. Like, I believe I can do this, and I know I can do it. And the world needs it, right? Everyone needs healing and needs help and physical pain. And I don't think I've met a person at some point in their life that didn't have back pain or neck pain or shoulder pain. Like, it's one of
Yep.
these areas that is so common. And I found, the emotional aspect of it too, like just carrying stress in your shoulders and carrying
Yeah.
the weight on your shoulders, and the low back is, are you feeling supported? Like a
Yep.
lot of financial stuff, right? Like people that are the breadwinners in the family, their back goes out often. And I
Yes.
often find that so interesting. Like, I don't get a lot of men in my clinic since I started practicing, but of almost all the men, it's almost always back pain. And
Oh yeah.
it's so
I'm with
interesting.
you.
The emotion. I remember I had this one patient. He was really, really challenging because I was like, I think it's your stress because you're doing all the things, but your stress is contributing to your back pain. The man had 2 jobs. He was supporting a wife and 3 kids, and he was like, "Nah, I'm not stressed." I was like, "Your
Yeah.
back."
And that's the problem right there. In denial, right? Not
Hmm.
really like facing the truth of why. A lot of people want to avoid it. They get scared of discomfort, scared of the aches and pains. And it's like, no, let's get rid of it fast. I don't like it. I got things to do. Got things to do. And then that's the issue. We're programmed to go all the time. And it's like, and then you're hurting, and then you do something really quick because you don't want to feel it anymore, and then you hurt again, and then you wonder why. That's when you need to start like diving deep. Do something different. Stop doing the same thing all the time. You know what I mean? Like we keep doing the same things. And it's like, oh, I did this. Like, no, we
Hmm.
got to bridge the gap. And it's funny you brought up, men having back pain. It's true. I have a lot of male clients.
Hmm.
Like, and I love that you brought up, there is the energy healing, the emotional
Right.
component, and the chakras too, so back pain's related with the block in the root,
Hmm.
sacral, and solar plexus. And when those are blocked, your heart chakra is blocked. You're not living a heart-centered life. So it's been great being able to speak that language and integrate that with my clients. So
Hmm.
yes, I have the science in it, but there's the energy, the spiritual, all the things blending it together, and allowing the men to feel their feelings and being like, hey, like, and holding space for them, like, more than 50% of your pain are trapped emotions. Let's dive into that. And here are some strategies that you can do to where you feel safe to feel that stuff
Hmm.
and figure out where it's coming from, right? Because it's not like the present moment's not really the issue. It's past stuff you've pushed down in your body and like held inside that you just didn't want to deal with at the time. But guess what? It catches up to you later on. So,
Well, it's, you having emotions stuck in your body, it's a present, but it's also ancestral because a lot of times,
yes.
you also have the pain of your family, your lineage that also gets stored in your body, and a lot of time that's not addressed. So,
Right.
the back pain, I also find it's with people that are hypervigilant, right? People that have highly stressful upbringings, and they're always kind of clenching their back because you're just always kind of like somebody's going to be coming up from behind me. I mean, as a New Yorker, I've been jumpy my whole life. Like, you can't just roll up on me. I jump because I'm just so used to protecting my back, right? Because you don't ever know who's going
Yeah.
to be coming at you. And I think all of that hypervigilance and constantly being in a stressful space can also just
Yeah.
wreak havoc on your health. Your back is one place, but it could be anywhere in the body. I think it just depends on where people hold their emotions. And that's why, the work that we do is so important because it's not just the physical, it's also what's happening on the emotional level and where is it locked into the body. And of course, there are these areas that are more common, like back pain, neck pain. And I also think it's an easier
Yep.
way to get people in, right? Because if
Yes.
people are not in physical pain, it's hard for them to get to the emotional pain because they're like, well, I don't want to talk about my childhood.
Yeah.
I'm fine. My life is
Yeah.
good. It's like you're not going
Yeah.
to talk about it
Exactly.
until, God forbid, somebody gets cancer, or it's always like a big health crisis that people are like waking up, like exactly what's happening in our current events, right? If it was something huge that people have to be like, okay, it's time to wake up. Where if something wasn't traumatic that was happening, people are kind of like, oh, we'll just deal with it tomorrow, and then tomorrow
Yeah.
becomes it never ever happens.
Exactly. And that's why crisis can be viewed as an opportunity. It took a crisis for you to make a change, right? It's taking pain for you to finally make a change within your life in some way because you want to feel free.
Hmm.
Okay, but this hurts right now. What can I do to get there? But
Right.
guess what? It's not like how we were saying, it's not just the structural aspect. Guess what? Organs refer pain. Poor gut health refers pain to the back.
Hmm.
Lots of things refer to the back. And like how you were saying, ancestral lineage. And it makes sense. Like my ancestors were the Taino Indians, right? From Puerto Rico. And the Spaniards brought in the slaves from Africa. I mean, can you imagine all the things that have been happening that we absorb and get passed down, even limiting beliefs and stories, illnesses get passed down, that energy get passed down every single generation. So if
Hmm.
I have fear of failure, that gets passed down.
Hmm.
Fear of like not being good enough, rah, like great whomever was thinking that and passed that on. And then all the stories that are created around that in the home dynamic, those seeds get passed down. But guess what? We can change that.
Right.
We can totally change that. Now they're finding research. Genetic makeup doesn't really set you up for the rest of your life. Daily actions set you up for the rest of your life. So if you want to feel free, sync your actions up to so you can feel free in the present moment and thereafter. So it's all like what inside out. And in my book called The End of Back Pain,
Hmm.
I love that you said like, okay, how someone's coming in, their back is hurting. I'm not going to be like, yo, what was your relationship like with your mom? Like right in the beginning,
No.
right? Like, like sometimes
uh,
like I will when I feel like they're ready.
yeah.
But in the book, I start from the outside in.
Right.
So it's like gently walking you on this journey
Hmm.
that like, yes, your pain
Right.
is, in your back. Physically, this is what it means. And then I lead into like, okay, it leads to the food choices too, la da da. And then I finish with like, you know what? Your thoughts too. Your thoughts and beliefs create your reality. So
It takes a
I love that
while.
you said that.
I
Yeah.
mean, it takes a
Yeah.
while. I mean, I think that's why I probably didn't jump into going straight from like college into going to energy healing. It took me acupuncture school and being years as an acupuncturist because that's more considered like legitimate, and into going into this energy emotional space because most people are not going to come to you and being like, hey, my grandfather was enslaved and I still feel like it's in my body. Like, that's not what people are going to say. I
No,
wish they would, though. I wish they would. But
at some point they will, to be honest, and it's up to us to plant that seed, giving them permission to say that, right? Like,
right. And
Definitely.
I had this client once who I just couldn't even believe it because okay, I say this because I've always believed this work, but it's not until it happens to you or you have a client that you're like, whoa. I've always believed in ancestral lineage being carried, right? And then I had this client one day that came to me who kept having these nightmares. And I was like, okay, tell me about your nightmare. She said she kept having nightmares that she was in the Holocaust. Like she was having dreams that she was in the experience and she would have crazy anxiety. Like she couldn't even function. She had to stop working. Like she couldn't even function because it was so intense. And it turns out that her grandparents were in the Holocaust, both sets on both sides. Like she was essentially reliving the Holocaust every night, even though the girl was 20, she was like 23 years old. And I was like blown away that, and then she didn't even make the connection. I was just like, I was like, you're holding on to your family's pain. And so we worked together for like 2 months and she was a completely different human at the end of it. Like we did a lot of energy clearing, acupuncture, and like she was able to just release that energy. We worked together to help release that energy. And at that point I was like, that's amazing that we could be carrying so much in our veins, in our blood, in our DNA that's still dictating how we're living our day-to-day lives. And since then, I've been like, oh my God, this is it. This is where we need to get to the root of the cause. It's not all of it, but it's definitely a big part of it,
Yes.
you know?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. And it's because we're carrying on, it's called the blueprint. But we can change that blueprint. We're not stuck. Being stuck is a choice. And then you can choose to unstuck yourself. And that's
Hmm.
what I love. Like, I feel like us, like we needed to feel all the aches, all of these issues, all of these struggles and go through it all so that we know like how to like help somebody and help
Right.
support them. And it's not so much like and I know you'll agree with this, is like it's not so much like we're healing you, we're empowering you to heal yourself. The body knows how to heal itself, right? It has the wisdom and intelligence to do what it needs to do. It's just we get in the way.
Hmm.
So it's like, okay, like let's support you, and I'm going to give you these strategies and tools so that you can learn this language so
Right.
that body starts to heal. You can heal you. We're just holding space for you and giving you permission that like, hey, what you're feeling's legit, but how about this? You know, like breaking it down for you to where we simplify the complexity. We clear these fear-based beliefs, your diagnosis, which you're not your
I
diagnosis,
know,
you know,
right?
like all of these things, clearing a lot of fear for you to be like, oh wow. And then guess what? We go, okay, you graduated. You can go and heal your life now.
Hmm.
Tools for the rest of your life. And then guess what? You know what I love? My clients start sharing it with their families,
Hmm.
with their work people, their employees. One of them on a Zoom meeting, she showed them the breathing technique that I taught her and had the whole Zoom meeting of I don't know how many people
Yeah.
virtually, and we all did it. Like,
Nice.
how awesome is that? Planting seeds of goodness and just like, you know, people are gonna, if they feel better, they want to share it,
I mean,
right?
that's the point of everything, like spreading the love. It's like you feel better, you do better, you share. And I think that's where we can start to, I mean, at least I feel like that's how we can heal the world, or that's like my aspect of what I want to do to heal the world, right? It's like to help spread the love and healing, and that you can then, if you know, especially like the moms, where I'm always so passionate about working with the moms because the moms are the heart
Mm,
of the family, right? So if you get to the mom, she's going to heal herself. By healing her, she heals her future generation and her past generations. Like you heal your whole lineage when you heal, then that you're going to be spreading that love to your children. Often the spouse often kind of gets the benefits of the wife, right? Or you know, if it's two wives or two husbands or whatever, like whoever is the person that decides to take the mission on to start healing, that's going to start healing the entire family structure. And it's not, and it's just like, it just spreads. It just really does.
yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily, I mean, and what's interesting about that, it's like the kids don't necessarily have to go to therapy or do the work too, but it's the energy in the house, right? The mom's happier,
Yes.
she's filled with more light, she's softer, and it spreads. Like it's like having a roommate
Yes.
that's cool. Like we've all had roommates that we were just like, what's do you want to move out? Like,
Exactly.
and then
Yep.
we've had cool roommates that were like, I love you. And you know, when somebody comes in the house and they're not, and their vibe is off, it affects the entire house. It really does.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that, you know, that's kind of, you know, if there's one, I mean, I really believe like if the room is dark and and we're the little match, there's still light in the room. So it's
Yes.
like kind of spreading that light into more people to get ignited. And even though they may not 100% heal from whatever their ailment is, but maybe it's enough to get them on that inner journey. And then they start spreading it to others. And hopefully then, it becomes contagious.
Of course, yeah.
The peace and love pandemic.
Yes, yes, we're doing it right now. It's
Peace and
happening
love
right now. We're
pandemic.
gonna feel it. Feel it. Feel this love right now. Yeah, and you know what? Like it's interesting how, you know, it's easy to want to control the outside environment. I don't like this. I don't like this person behaving this way. I don't like what's happening on the outside world. Well, the greatest change you can do is to do the inner work to create inner love within yourself, embody that. Every single cell in your body. Do you look in the mirror and love what you see?
Hmm.
That's where it starts. You want outer love? It starts with inner. You want growth and expansion outside of you? Inner growth, inner expansion first. That's priority. So if you're not liking what you see in the mirror, let's start with that.
Every
Let's start
time,
with that.
every time people say this, I always think of Man in the Mirror, Michael Jackson. You remember that song? I,
Yes. Oh my God. I wish we could play that right now.
I used to love that song.
Yes.
Oh my God, the first time I saw that video, I like cried. It was like remember that was the time that there was the famine and that was happening in Ethiopia. And I
Mm.
was so affected by that.
Yeah.
But I remember thinking, oh my God, he's right. Because I remember thinking when I was a little girl, when I saw those kids, I was like, well, what can I do? I'm like in New York City in my apartment. Like, how am I supposed to help those
Yeah.
kids in Africa and Ethiopia during that famine? How am I going to help them? But really, his message was like, look, if you be the change you want to be in the world, like you want to change, look in the mirror, like look in the man in the mirror. And I was like, okay. And that, I didn't really get it because I was a little girl, right? But as I got older, I swear that song always is in my mind because it's so true. Like, you want to change, you
Yes.
have to start with you. And it's amazing how that is so powerful. But I don't think people realize it because they're like, oh, but that's not a big
Right.
deal. But I'm like, it is the biggest deal. Like,
It is.
it's the work. It's
That's
like,
how you start. Yes. And that's people are right now, like I understand, like I don't know what to do right now. Like I want to help a lot of people.
mhm.
I want to help, I want to help. It starts with you first. Because if your cup is half full and you don't love yourself or love what you see in the mirror, you're pouring from an empty cup,
Yeah, I say that all the
right?
time.
You
Yeah.
need more people to fill up their cup first. Then you have it, allow it to overflow so that you have you still, right? You're not losing yourself in the process. You're not being fragmented, little bits and pieces being spread out because you didn't have this full first,
Yeah,
right?
you definitely have to love yourself enough to have the abundance to give. But I also feel like loving yourself, when you do give, it comes from a place of joy. Because
Mm.
if you're empty and you don't feel love, it's really hard to give. Because when you give, it's like
Oh,
you're like very stingy with it. You're like, okay, take my dollar. Oh, like everything's like, oh,
not even
you
take my
you're
penny.
like, don't take it. And no, and even if you give from that place and somebody receives it, it doesn't even feel good for the person that received it.
No.
Because they're just like, I just took your last penny. You're upset about it. Like, here, take it back. You know? This
Yeah.
is kind of like the way it is. But when you give from a place of fullness and joy, then people are so appreciative and they're like, oh, I want to feel this way too. I want to give someone else. I think that's
Yeah.
the gift of giving. It's really coming from a high place, high vibration where other people feel inspired to also give. And
Yes.
so
Yes.
it's that reciprocity, because when you do something good for others coming from a genuinely good place, most people receive that and are like, oh, cool, like that's great. I feel inspired to give, like free hugs or whatever your thing
Yes.
is. Well, we can't hug right now, but virtual hugs.
Well, we can do this. I'm turning into you.
So
I know you felt that.
so besides like the healing work that you do, what else do you love in life? Like, I know you have multiple passions like surfing and others.
Yes, I love anything outdoors. I love anything Mother Nature. I love the power Mother Nature gives us. I just find her to be the best healing medicine for us. She created plants for us to heal, like that's pretty powerful stuff. So I'm
Right.
all about that. Anything that Mother Nature creates and learning the medicinal properties of a plant and how it can help us in so many ways. I'm passionate about that. I'm passionate about connection with myself, learning this, getting
Hmm.
to know this, learning to be in love with this and rise in love with it so that it can create that ripple effect, breaking karmic patterns, and just like all of that. I'm passionate about healing. I'm passionate about, gosh, well, I mean, it's kind of different with this whole COVID situation being on lockdown,
Yeah.
but connection would be the main thing, however that shows up. And it could be me even like, I don't know, like I love trying anything new. That I'm passionate about. I'm committed to being,
Anything?
what's that?
Skydiving, bungee jumping.
Skydiving, bungee jumping, whitewater rafting, zip lining, traveling, adventures, exploring, because that creates growth. Like I'm a huge believer. I love being at least do something uncomfortable in some way so that it can like, whoa, I learned something new. Or like, because I don't want to plateau,
Hmm.
right? Like being in pain for a long time, right? You're kind of stuck and you're stuck in this plateau. And then when you're free from it, it's like, heck yeah, invite in whatever. Like, oh, I haven't done that. Let me try it and see like what I can learn. Like, ooh, that wasn't fun, but what can I gain from that? So I've committed to being uncomfortable pretty much every day in some way.
Nice.
But it could even be like doing a Facebook Live. That always gets me like, oh, right before. I don't know if people are gonna think, but whatever, do it anyway, jump, poop, or
Yeah,
oh,
lives are definitely more nerve-wracking than video. But but for some reason I like them more because it's like it is what it is. Like,
yeah.
I can't, it's like take it or leave it. Where like video, you have to like I feel like there's more posturing. Like I know I could edit it, so I'm a little like, okay, how do I look? Okay. All right. Oh no, I don't like that. Cut it, delete it. You know what I mean? Where if it's live, it's like balada.
Yeah,
It's
what
like
you
here.
see is what you get.
It's like
Yeah.
I can't edit it. And I feel like the fact that I
Yeah.
can't edit it is like there's a freedom of like, okay, like I could just have fun.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
It's like way more
It's very freeing.
yeah, it's like liberating and it's like, okay, this, it is what it is. Um
Yeah.
cool. I was gonna ask you something else. Oh, because I mean, you're Puerto Rican, born and raised, and you moved to America, but you live there and you live in LA, right?
Yes. Yes. So right now I'm in Santa Monica, and about a couple years ago, almost 3 years ago, I made a decision of wanting to set myself up to be able to travel and return to my roots. I say it's a bi-coastal life, but I just I had huge waves of
Hmm.
life coming in, boom, 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 and I'll share a little bit. I had a cousin who died in July 2017, and he was the light of the world, like traveling all over the world. He didn't care what anybody thought. Like he called money fun tickets. Like he was like so
That's funny.
talk about free spirit. And we were like the misfits in the family. He was the middle of two brothers. I'm in the middle of two sisters, and he was my brother, right? My soul brother. So when he died in that accident, that's when I made a decision. You know, yes, we have these moments that like kind of hit us in the face that like, girl, you need to do what you need to do. That's when I knew I wanted to set myself up to have financial time and location freedom.
Hmm.
No joke. Right after I like got the news on the phone, you and I taught together.
We did. Yeah, we had a
We taught us
class.
on breathing.
We had
I
a
just remember
class.
right now. We taught a workshop
We
on
did.
breathing.
We did.
And I still show up. You're like, you don't have to. I'm like, no, let's do it. But
Hmm.
um,
Yeah.
that's when I knew I wanted to set up an online business. So I gradually kind of started doing it, and then more life stuff happened. And now, finally, as of February 2019, is when I chose me 100%. And I was just like, I want to be with my family, create more space so that I can spend time with them. I have 4 nephews. I want to see them grow. I want to be a part of their lives. Like I got sick of the whole 9 to 5 job and needing to work all the time. And I was just like, no, there's got to be a better way. There's always a better way, but it's up to me to create that. And so, yeah, so I've been traveling back and forth. My parents and 2 sisters and 4 nephews are in Dallas, so that's my pit stop. And then I go to Puerto Rico because, you know what, like we moved when I was 4, and yeah, we would travel a little bit growing up, but I was just like, I want to learn more where I come from, like my roots, like the
Hmm.
food, the culture, immerse myself in that more. So I was going back and forth, and now it's just like, okay, I want to spend more time there. Like I'm just being pulled and called to go there. So yes, I love the back and forth. I love, just like learning something new about my culture, the people,
Right.
interacting with them, connecting, especially after the hurricanes in 2017, like showing up and being there for them, and I'm being called to like really provide something on a larger scale for the people of Puerto Rico too, and the world, right?
Right.
The world is needing this goodness, this infinite love, right? So
Nice.
yeah, so that's been like the traveling back and forth. That's the why behind why I do that.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that. I mean, I've always wanted to have that level of traveling, but then when I went to Australia last year, I was like, I think I want to spend more time traveling within myself. And then I realized,
Ooh.
yeah, because I've always was like, oh, ever since I started acupuncture school, I was like, oh, I want to like have this online business, but I didn't know what the online business was until now that I'm creating it. But before then, I was like, I
Yeah.
wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So I wanted to travel. And I think my love for traveling was just always seeking something outside to make me feel like there was a change happening within me. Because every time you travel, you learn something. You're learning new cultures. You always learn something new about yourself. When you travel with other people, you learn a lot of things about the other person and about you and dynamics. And I realized that I want to just go travel within me. Like there's so much about
Wow.
myself that I don't know about. I want to learn about. I want to just get deep into who I am and my psyche. That I was like, that's what I really wanted to do in terms of travel, and not necessarily go all over the world, because I realized I don't necessarily like traveling as much as I thought. It's like one of these revelations. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, because I think I liked traveling when I was younger. When I was younger, you could do a hospice. You can kind of eat bread, and I don't eat cheese, but back then I eat cheese. It's like you could eat like poor, and now I like to travel and like luxury, and you know,
Oh yeah.
it's like if I'm not gonna if I travel, like I want to travel nice, and so
Yeah.
it's
You're like, because
like
I'm worth it.
because I'm almost 40, so I was like, so now it's just like I feel like if I'm gonna travel, I want to go on a really nice trip, like
Hmm.
hotel, food, kind of,
Yes.
and I was like, because when I went to Australia, I was like, I'm done the whole, I'm not doing the whole like Airbnbs, and I don't know. I just was like, this isn't cute anymore. The food, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And but
Check done.
yeah,
Okay.
but it was really the internal work that I was seeking. It wasn't necessarily the
Mhm.
traveling. It was I like to, and also another thing I realized when I traveling, I like stability. I like being in nice places. I like roots. I like having a home. I like being rooted in a place. I like creating that energetic safety zone. Like this is my space. Like, like I was like, yeah, these are things I really enjoy. Like I don't necessarily like. I feel like I realized as I got older, become more of a goat as a Capricorn. I'm like, okay, I'm more of a goat. I like things to be like, what I mean? And I find freedom, and
I have an image of a goat in my mind,
yeah,
girl.
like it's just like I never thought I was that type of person. I thought I was this free
Yeah.
spirit. Like my whole life, I really thought I was like this nomadic, because my mom's from Fulani, which is like a nomadic tribe in Africa. Like, and I thought I was that. I was like, I'm a nomad. I can go from here to here. Now I'm just like, nah, I'm a crotchety old goat. I like to be in the same place every day, and then I can do my meditations, and I can go within and like have my
Yes.
inner experience that I find to be so enriching. Um,
Yes.
but it's interesting because as I get older, the more I discover about myself, the more my projective image of my personality doesn't even match who I truly am. And
Yes.
that's been interesting, just being like, oh yeah, I'm not who I thought I
I
was.
love that. Oh my gosh. I love how you said that. And it's interesting too, definitely with this whole like COVID pandemic too, you couldn't go anywhere. Your only
Yes.
option was to travel within. And I was like, I'm gonna take advantage of this, like rather than complaining like I can't go here and here, guess what? You can go here, right? And get
Right.
to know this.
Right. And then
So it
yeah.
was wow. Yeah, like the stuff that I was learning about myself, I'm like, oh shoot, like it was uncomfortable and it was like, oh man, I believe that. Oh
Hmm.
man, this it was like so much crying, especially the past 2 months, especially, everything that's going on. But it's just like, wow, like when you get to really know who you are, you allow people to show up in the way that you are deserving of too,
Right.
right? So like if you're not showing up for you, don't expect people to show up for you.
True. True. But for me, the pandemic was I mean, I have a mixed feeling about it, but the one thing I love the most about it is that it made me feel my own mortality. I was like, oh,
Mm.
I could die like tomorrow. Like this could be over. And then I'm gonna go to heaven and look back on my life and be like, what did I do? I don't know if you ever saw that movie. There's this movie in the 80s where people went to heaven and then they watch a movie of their life and they get judged. And it was like a comedy, but it was really funny with Meryl Streep and somebody else. It was a really good movie. And I remember that was the imagery I had when this started. I was like, oh my God, like I'm gonna look at my life and then what did Corinne do on the planet before you died? And that'd be like nothing. I did nothing. So
I
then I
wasn't
was so
supposed.
then I was like, I could die. Like this is it. I'm gonna do my mission because I could die tomorrow. So
Mm.
what am I waiting for? Like I was like waiting for something. I don't know what I was waiting for, but I'm like, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do what I love, and and the money will come, and I'll figure it out. But I'm not gonna wait anymore. And I think that was the biggest gift of COVID. It like
Oh my
sparked,
gosh, without a
yeah,
doubt.
it sparked this kind of like fire that's like, okay, I
Literally.
could die. So like, let me get to my purpose. Let me get to my mission. Let me start loving people. Let me start healing. Let me start, doing things and enjoying my life because it could all be taken away in a second. Like, so that's
Wow.
kind of like where I'm going with this COVID. It's like every day is a blessing. Okay, what did I do today? Like if I die tomorrow,
Yes.
what could I say I did yesterday that was so amazing? How did I change somebody's life? How did I make someone smile? Did I make someone feel good? So then I could die and be like, yesterday was a good day. I helped like 5 people, you know?
Oh my gosh, girl, you're lighting me up, man. My eyes are watering.
Aw.
It's like I'm so with you on that. And that's why too, like I finished my book during this time.
Oh,
Like
great.
it launched
Congratulations.
April 4th. Yeah, so I wrote the book in Puerto Rico. I wanted to write the book in my roots, my island, right?
Mhm.
Like in Puerto Rico. And I just got on the zone and I actually played the love frequency in the background the whole time I was writing. That 528 hertz is the
Yes.
general love frequency. So my words were embedded with love. So whoever reads
Mm.
it, you're gonna feel this love, okay? So I set that intention.
Yeah.
So I wrote the first draft in 2 weeks. Then it took a while for to receive the notes from the editor. I received it, and then I didn't do anything about it. I got busy with treating clients on site at the gym that I treated clients at here in LA. And then I was like, shoot, like I'm not gonna be able to finish my book on time because April 4th was my deadline, April 3rd. And then this happened. Boom, the gym closed March 15th. And I was like, oh, blessing in disguise, right? Like I feel like everyone's prayers got answered in some funky way. And I was like, no, girl, this book, everyone needs it. You got to finish it because people kept saying, you should postpone it. You should wait. There's a lot going on right now. Extend your deadline. I was like, no, like people need this because, again, too, what if something happened to me and I didn't get to publish my book?
Exactly.
Same thing. That like
Yeah.
lit me up. I was like, no, if something happens, and I didn't get to finish it, no, that's on me, right?
Hmm.
So, yeah, girl, I finished the book during this time. And like, yeah, same thing. I'm like, okay, like the gym's closed. You got to go all in on online. There's no half in, half out anymore.
Right.
Like, this is it.
That's all we have is one day. And we don't know about tomorrow, but we can do something amazing today,
Yes.
right? And then
And
I
yeah,
think that's like, I think I finally got that Eckhart Tolle book, The Power of Now. I think when I first read, I didn't read the book, but I read parts of it, and I was always like, oh, okay. But now I kind of get it. Now I'm like, yeah, that's it. All we have is this very moment with you right now. I have no idea what's going to happen 10 minutes from now. All we have is right
yeah,
now. So I think being in that present moment and just being like, how can I affect change this today, like right now? And
yes,
that's all we can do, and that's all we can control, really. It's like how we feel and what we're doing to people in this very moment. And that's the biggest gift this whole pandemic has ever, I mean, whatever happens in the world, I'll always
yeah.
look back at this time being like, a lot of people woke up during this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. See, that goes back to that crisis is really an opportunity,
Hmm.
right? And you know what? No joke. While I was meditating this morning, I received this download, I call them, or message,
Hmm.
and I heard nothing is better than, hold on, nothing is better than this moment right now. Because I caught myself with my thoughts blah, 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 thinking all over, like where do I need to go, and thinking about whatever, and it was like, girl, nothing is better than right here in this moment. And
Hmm.
then in right here in this moment is everything.
Right.
Everything is in this moment. You have everything you need, and if you forget, boom, your heart's beating.
Right. You're alive, you're breathing, right?
Yes.
How important is that? Like, we have people screaming that they can't breathe, and you can breathe in this very moment, and that's such a blessing.
Yeah.
It's
So
just
it's like,
like,
what are you going to use with your breath?
yeah, and I think it's a very important time to have a lot of gratitude, like
Hmm.
understanding, oh wow, like, okay, life is intense, but this is what I have, this is who I am. What can I do with what I have, and how can I share what I have with others? And I think that makes it's so important. Like, I can't even stress enough to like just be grateful. Like, every day I'm just like, okay, I'm alive, I'm breathing, my house is here, because I keep having crazy dreams that my house is being burnt down. And I'm like, I keep having dreams that my office is being burnt down. I'm applying.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting office liability insurance just in case. But I think it's because my office is in a fire zone, because where I live in the East Bay, there's like a lot of fires. But I also think it's like burning down of who I thought I was and what I think. You know what I mean? It's more of the like the symbology
Yeah.
around that, right? It's like you are creating something new, so that old stuff needs to be burned down so you can start rebuilding from a
Woo!
different space, right? So that's like kind of the transition I'm going through, where things are just dying and falling away, and being present, being open, being vulnerable, like sharing the truth of what's happening, I think is all we can do right now, is just to tell people this is what's going on. I've had so many of my white friends call me this week, and I'm like, yeah, it's just interesting, because I'm like, wow, like, and I think that's amazing that they're like asking questions, and I'm trying to understand their white privilege, and not, these conversations that they've never had. They've known me for years, and
Wow.
I just think it's great that people are like, okay, let's talk about it. And I'm like, cool, like, it's very uncomfortable, but the fact that you're even willing to have this conversation is really, it's nice, even though it's uncomfortable, but there's a way to talk about it that I think that's loving and supportive and compassionate. And yeah, so a lot of, I think, I mean, that's the way I think it's the best way to heal, is with love and compassion, but I'm sure other people have other ways, but that's just my way. And I think it's just great to just be able to have these honest conversations about so what do you want to do about it now? Now that you know, how are you gonna spread it? Like, how are you gonna
Yeah.
talk to your kids about it? How are you gonna talk to your friends about it? Like, how are you gonna, yeah. And I think it's also interesting that how some people are not addressing it. I'm like, hmm, that's also interesting, you know? So,
Whew. There's so many things. It's so many layers,
yeah.
right? But it just comes down to a lot of reprogramming, lots of reprogramming within yourself. And then, like, yeah,
Yeah, reprogramming them, but also kind of creating a different energy around it. Because I think for me,
yes,
like, well, because there's going to be, we all have our biases and our prejudices, and what we're like, the conditioning that we all came in with. And I don't know if that necessarily can always go away for everybody, but I feel like if you create a different path or a different way of thinking about love and compassion and understanding, that somehow eventually that becomes a stronger voice, positive voice in your heart than the negative one, right? Because even like people that have had negative experiences with certain people, over time you're like, wow, I had this really great experience with you. Like, I remember in college, like, I went to a college that was mostly white. It was like 1,600 students, and there was like 100 people of color, and that included the international students, or something small like that. And I remember going at this, I had this party, I was at this party once, and this one guy named Adam, he came up to me, he was like, Karen, you're a lot different than all the than the typical black girl. And I was like, is that it? And and at the time I was like, is that a compliment? But when I thought about it, what he's really saying is that he never really had any experiences of black girls, and I was so open, and we had conversations, and we were like not friends, but we were like, cool acquaintances, that it kind of broke his stereotype of what he thought Black girls were. So I
Wow.
was kind of like, okay, that's cool. That's cool if that's, and he was always nice and respectful. He never was like a mean person to me anyway. And I took that as a compliment. I was like, okay, cool. At least I could, shift you to stop thinking a certain way. And this was like, what, 1999, And so I'm like dating myself, but yeah. Or 2000. It was 20 years ago. So,
Yeah.
it's just and I think like you being a cool person, like, if people didn't like Puerto Ricans, but they met you and, sometimes it maybe they don't even know you're Puerto Rican and then like hanging out with you and they're like talking all this crap about Puerto Ricans and then they fall in love
Yep.
with you. They'll be like, well, Sofia's Puerto Rican and she's cool. So maybe, and then they start to shift, you know what I
Yep.
mean? They start to shift their mindset around it because they had such a good positive experience. And hopefully you would hope that that starts to change the way they think about it in the future. And I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, I feel like that's the only thing I can really do when I meet people that are like that. Because I'm like, all I could do is show you love and compassion. And then hopefully that would be enough for you to, when the next Black person you meet, you'll treat them differently.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And approach with love and compassion. That's huge, Corinne. And I'm so with you on that. And it's true. Like, and then they want to come and visit, right? They're like, oh, wow, I didn't know this about Puerto Rico. I didn't know about this about your culture, right? Because it's kind of like a hidden island, like kind of like,
Don't tell too many people about it.
I know, it's just like it's called an
I'm kidding.
enchanted island for a reason. It is Isla del Encanto, enchanted, for a reason. But I'm grateful to be able to show up with love and compassion
Mm-hmm.
and break through the stereotypes, break through beliefs and all of these things. Like when we moved to the States, I remember I was 4 years old and my father told me, you have to work harder than everybody else. You have to be independent because they already look down on you because you're from Puerto Rico, because you're Puerto Rican, because his stories are, like a family line of all this stuff. But 4 years old being told, you have to work harder than everybody else because they already think you're incompetent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
And it's just like,
well,
whew,
I got that my whole life. You have to work twice as hard. You have to work 4 times as hard.
yeah,
You want it? Great. You have to work twice as hard. And I
yes.
was resentful for so many years. I mean, I was like, really? I have to work it's already hard to go to school. I have to work twice as hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did something weird within myself was like I tried to assimilate. Like, so because I had such pain around being Black and being different, I like tried to
Mm-hmm.
assimilate which is impossible because
Mm-hmm.
as dark as I am, you really can't assimilate. I don't know what I was thinking, but it
Yeah.
was like, it was kind of like, what can I do to not be seen, heard? Like, how could I
Yep.
like be here, but not be here? Like,
Girl, I'm getting same
yeah.
here. Like, so I stopped speaking Spanish. I had glasses, thick Puerto Rican accent, and my sisters and I assimilated by not speaking in Spanish,
Hmm.
only English to fit in, because
Yeah.
otherwise you were bullied.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, it took until like my mid 20s to really start embracing like
wow.
my Africanness and be like, okay, this is who I am. Like, I don't have
Yeah.
to assimilate to really fit in because I'm not assimilating anyway. That's the thing. I was like, you're not really assimilating. Like, I mean, I had a ex who's his brother had a girlfriend who was half Black and half white on both sides of her family. So she kind of was like a Mariah Carey kind of look. So
Mm.
she assimilated. Like she acted completely white. She totally disregarded her whole African American side, but she could assimilate because she kind of looked the part really. But I couldn't I couldn't assimilate ever. So I just don't even know what I was thinking. But
Mhm.
I really just wanted to be accepted. I think that was what I just wanted to feel like I am part of this community and this people and I'm not different. I'm
Yeah.
just like you and we're the same. I just have more melanin, a lot more melanin. Um, but now it's like now I just hang the freak flag. I'm just like, I'm Black, I'm proud, I'm who I am. It's like, okay, like it is what it is. Like I can't change it. So all I can do is accept it, just and accept it. And it's really just be like, this is who I am. And I hope you enjoy because I enjoy it. Even if you don't enjoy it,
Yes.
I enjoy it. And
Yes, and we
they're
love you for that, Corinne. That's what makes you you and so
thank you.
lovable. And like that's why your presence alone heals.
And so
People
does
are feeling
yours.
your healing right now. Every time
Oh,
you show up, your present. My eyes are watering, girl, because I love you so much.
oh, I love you
Um,
too.
your presence heals. You choosing you to embrace every single cell of you brings healing not only for your heart but everyone else, and it gives them permission to embrace who they are too, right? Like no more hiding. Like I remember my mom would used to blow dry my hair straight. I had
Hmm.
crazy curls when I was a kid, okay? Like, and it took me a long time, same thing, 20s, to really like, you know what, I'm not gonna blow dry it and see what happens. And then I got compliments on it. I was like, what? I thought, like it's interesting, like where you're just like changing these perceptions and old
Hmm.
stories
Right.
of whatever. And now, like, when you're just like, no, I can change that. Like, I want to love this 100% and how I'm creating everything. And I
Hmm.
just love that you chose to show up because if you didn't, we wouldn't be having this conversation,
This
right?
is
Like,
true.
look where it led you. Look where you choosing you 100% and embracing everything led you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's not always easy, but it definitely is worth it. Like when you really
Yes.
fully unconditionally love yourself and the flaws and all, and even looking at your biggest pains or your biggest weakest points as a point of strength and power, and just shifting the narrative. Like instead of thinking like I used to be like queen of the pity party, and now I'm just like, okay, like I give myself moments. If I go down, I go on a timer, have 5 minutes or 2 minutes, depending on how bad it is, to have my pity party. And after the pity party's over, I'm like, how can I turn this into a superpower? Like, because you know what I mean? Because it's like, because I can't sit in that space anymore because it's so numbing. And you just, again, the mortality thing. I'm gonna die and I'm gonna go to heaven and look at the movie and like, oh, Corinne, you had a pity party today. Oh, poor you. Like, I don't want to see the movie of me having a pity party. Like, that's really what it came down to. It's like,
So that's when you put a time limit. Oh, it's only for 2 minutes. You're good,
yes,
girl.
yes. Then I could be like, it was a 2 minute. I had 2 minutes of having a pity party. I cried it out, and then I was like, oh, okay, turn the
Oh
page.
my gosh, you're cracking me up. I'm
Otherwise,
gonna tell my clients you got 5 minutes to
you have
cry
five
about your
minutes.
pain,
Like
and then we're gonna
seriously,
change
I
that.
have, I have, and then my friend, like, I'll show you. She, she,
Yes.
she gave us, she gave her and her friends a timer. Straight up, I'll like pity party for 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Oh my God, I love it. I need one.
Yeah,
I want a timer. I'm just gonna give the person. This is all you
like
got.
you got two
Let
minutes.
it all out.
Like, and it really, I feel like ever since I started the timer of my pity party, I feel so much better because then I don't feel like I'm ashamed of it. Because I would always feel like, okay, I'm a business owner, I need to get stuff done, and then I'd be all depressed and I can't get anything done. But then when I allowed myself to have the pity party, I really got in. I'm like, for good 2 hours, 2 minutes or 5 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, done.
I love it. I'm gonna get one hands down.
I gotta see where she ordered them, and I can give you the link. Like I'm telling you,
Yes, send
two,
it my
two,
way.
2 minutes.
That's a 2 minute one?
Yeah, this is a 2 minute one. I think you can get a 5 minute
Okay.
one. Yeah, it goes
Oh,
down to
this is
the
awesome. But
yeah
you just like
2 minute
told
pity
you girl,
party.
your presence alone heals. Look at that. Like now it's like it changed mine. You changed my life.
It works. I mean, it's almost like because I that movie really like became my catalyst. I'm like, I got to find the name of that movie. If you haven't seen it, you really need to see it because it was
Yes, send it
hilarious.
my way.
But it really was like I think Meryl Streep was in it, and then the guy that was in the had his storyline was horrible, and he was gonna go back to Earth to learn his lessons because he didn't learn his lesson, but he fell in love with the woman in heaven, so he had to jump off the bus that was going to Earth and then jumped on the other one. It was such a good movie, but it really like I was like this is and I don't know how heaven looks like, but it really
Oh my God. Yes, I'm gonna put that on my list. I want to watch it. But I love how it motivated you because look at that. That movie changed your life, you
That
know?
movie
You're like,
changed my life. I mean, I saw that movie when I was a little kid. I saw that movie when I was like 5 or 6,
wow.
and that stayed in my psyche my whole entire adulthood. And I think I watched it once again because it literally like I was like that movie. Like I don't like, and I don't even know if heaven's like that, but it really left an impression on a little girl. Like,
I love it.
don't
Oh my gosh, tears of laughter over here. Oh my gosh,
want
it's so funny. I love it.
to. Oh man, so we got to wrap this up. But Sophia, I love you so much. We've known each other for like a few years now, and you're such a joy. You're so bubbly and happy. And even when you had the roughest moments of your life a few years ago, you still were optimistic and used that pain to fuel your strength and fuel like what you wanted to do in the world. And you had the movie moment that I had because you at that moment were like, okay, like I could die, and like what do I want to do and what do I want to create? And you made it happen. I mean, it took a little bit, but you made it happen. And you've
Yeah.
always been my queen manifester. Like I'm almost like, don't
Yeah.
ask something close to Sophia because it's gonna happen. So
That's true. I tell my clients, okay, your life's gonna change, so be crystal clear with what you want. Because working with me, it's gonna happen. They're like, what? And it happens every time. So I get them to write their why ASAP. As soon as you
yeah,
start working with me, we get crystal clear with what you want.
yeah, because you are the queen of manifesting for sure. Like I mean, everything. I'm just like when you tell me things, I'm like, of course you wrote a book. Yeah, of course. Like it's gonna be a bestseller. Of course it is. Because Sophia, you did it. So it's gonna be great.
Why
Oh man. So I hope one day I get to go to Puerto Rico to visit your retreat center. It sounds lovely. And is there
not?
anything for the people that are watching this, are going to watch this later? Is there any way that people can get in contact with you and learn about more of what you do?
Yes, of course. Definitely check me out on Instagram. It's at Dr. Sofia Costa. It's Sophia with an F. So it's DrSofia Costa. And I do have a free guide for people because I see people make a lot of mistakes when their back is hurting. So I did something a little bit different and I created a free guide. So you can check it out. There's a link in my bio on Instagram. You can check out my website. It's on there as well with more info with my story. It's drsofiacosta.com. So yeah, I mean, please don't hesitate to contact me. You know, like my passion, how I said, is connection. So I simply love connecting with a lot of people. So ignite that passion of mine and connect with me. You know? But that's what this is all about. And you know, connection creates healing, creates love, creates compassion. It starts with connecting first. So yeah, if you feel free to connect. We'd love to get to know you.
Cool. And again, my name is Corinne Kamara, owner of Pelvis Wellness. You can find me in my Instagram at Pelvis Wellness, along all the social media channels at Pelvis Wellness. And I offer free group healings. And the next one is happening June 16th. And we're going to be talking about activating your throat and how to empower your throat and speak from your heart and release whatever tension that you're holding in your throat chakra. And then at the end of the month, June 30th, on Tuesday at 6, we are going to be doing a group healing on opening up your heart. So those are my offerings for the month of June, and you can get all that information in my Instagram bio link. So we're going to get off this because IG is telling me I have a minute left. So
Oh,
before they cut us off. I love you so much, Sophia. Thank you so much. Mwah.
I love you, all of you, and thank you for showing up, girl. I love you so much, and
Yeah.
thank you for having the courage to share your gift.
Yeah. And thank you for being such an amazing friend and being so supportive.
Thank you. Much love, girl.
Bye.
And bye, guys. Love you all.
Bye. Thanks for coming on the live, guys.